And from which Alaskan tribe? Now I know there are two tribes.
Well, actually, not both my parents were Alaskan Native. There's actually more than two tribes of Native in Alaska. I'm Yupik, and my father is Korean. And they were both Christian. Both my parents were Christian. And I got introduced to Islam when I met my husband in 2000. Shortly afterward, I became Muslim after one big question in Christianity I had was, it plainly says that, God made mankind and that, he made Jesus, but then all praises and thanks went to Jesus. It didn't go to God. And they celebrated him as God. And that didn't fit right with me. And in Islam, I found peace and comfort because there was one God only. You worshipped him and him only. And there is nobody else but God, purely, just God.
But let me ask you, there's some misconceptions about Muslim women, and one of them is that Muslim women accept Islam for their husband. I'm asking you, did you accept Islam for yourself, or did you accept Islam for
myself? It was just convenient. I got married shortly afterwards to the man who introduced it to me. I became Muslim because, it fit me. In my heart, it fit me just so perfectly because I knew that I felt a sense of calmness, only having, one God to worship. I didn't feel confused about my religion at all, so.
Okay, now you tell me that one of your parents is Korean and one is Native Alaskan. So how did they react when you told them that you had become Muslim?
They didn't like it. I'm the only Muslim in my family. On my mother's side, my mother and father aren't together, so on my mother's side, there was a lot of criticism, as well as on my father's side, because he was a strong-minded person. But after a while, my mother thought at first I was going through a phase. The phase will pass. She's just trying to find herself. It will pass. Alhamdulillah, 7 years later, it hasn't passed.
Alhamdulillah.
In the meantime, though, my father had passed, and towards the end, he had accepted me more, and he had actually apologized. So, alhamdulillah, that was nice.
And does your family ask you questions about Islam? I mean, did they disagree or oppose you becoming Muslim on a religious basis, or just on the fact that they didn't understand Islam and why you had accepted it?
I think it was some on a religious basis, or mostly because they thought of it as I'm offending them and I'm offending, Jesus, and I am just so turning my back on everything I grew up on. And shortly afterwards, at first there was criticism. There wasn't any questions. There was statements, well-heard statements.
Statements such as?
Harsh statements that I want to say again. But after that, after they would say what they said, I would calmly tell them about Islam, and then after that came the questions. Like, I didn't know you worshipped God, I think they became more at peace with it themselves, and there's only one family member in my family that will actually sit down and ask me and ask me and ask me more questions, like she's becoming more interested, and that's my older sister. So inshallah, I hope, she converts pretty soon.
Inshallah. Sister, tell us a bit about yourself and how you came to Islam.
Well, I originally was born in Louisiana. My dad's side of the family is Cajun, and my mother's side is, just southern.
Well, that's a big move from Louisiana to Alaska.
Yeah. I moved here whenever I was 16, almost 17, and I'm 29 now. So I've been here for about, 12 years? Yeah, about 12 years, on and off, but I've done a lot of traveling and exploring.
Were you Muslim when you came here?
No, sir, I was not.
Okay.
I was, my family, my dad's side of the family are all Catholics, as all Cajuns are Catholics. And my mom's side of the family, most of them have converted to Catholicism, mostly through my aunt's husband, who is Hispanic. So most of my family is Catholic, but more or less non-practicing, or they pick and choose what they want to practice in the faith.
And so how did you come to learn about Islam and accept Islam and become Muslim?
Well, I'd have to say out of my family, out of my immediate family, and quite a bit of my extended family, I've always been the more religious person, the one more conscious, more God conscious, more into practicing Catholicism and believing in God. But with my faith, there was a lot of questions that I had that could not be answered.
Can you just tell us some of those questions you had that couldn't be answered?
Number one question was the Trinity. How we believe in the Trinity, and it's not in one single place in the Bible does it say anything about the Trinity. And also a lot of the contradictions in the Bible. I didn't quite get how it could say one thing somewhere and then something somewhere else, and then also all of the basically a lot of it made God seem really cruel in a lot of the Bible, and I'm like, I don't really believe that God is a cruel entity.
So you mean you really had a belief in God, and you were really searching for the right way to approach God?
I always believed in one God. I always believed in, I guess we would say now, prophets and God. I always believed that Jesus was a prophet of God. I never believed that Jesus was God. And whenever I would go to Mass every Sunday and I would say the Nicene Creed, and it says a lot of things that, I just wasn't believing. And just eventually I started following